obviously Tinterwebs is not working right. Typical, just as I go on, the sun decides to make an appearance. Really warm, but no sun. How are we? He's alright. It is hot today, yes. The sun's just starting to make an appearance, so this isn't going to be that long today anyway. Just wanted to have a wee demonstration and a wee chat about these things. So so I'm sure many are aware, obviously I've spoken about this so many times, when we're talking about visible optics we have to understand what it is we're utilising in regards to the eyes, and ask some questions about those apparatus and how we perceive the world. So again, just to make some quick points before we go any further, I'm going to show you one of these curve calculator things here. I was going to draw it, but I've got stuff written on there that I need to remember, so let me just share screen. So obviously many people have seen this continually. I've got a curved surface here, and usually they'll show you a representation of you know, standing perpendicular to the centre of gravity and all that stuff. So, you know, they're always depicting this, and if you look at this, remember, you're always at the top of the supposed sphere, so really that arrow should be here. And if you look, this point here, you'd be looking downwards. Okay, looking down to your horizon and looking down to see things apparently being obscured by a bulge that rises up in front of you, when in reality that's not what happens. Now, the geometry of a sphere shows you that these people in their observations are obviously wrong and disingenuous. Maybe they're just confused about what they think's going on, because as you stand here at the top of a sphere, okay, the floor curves away from you 360, okay, every direction, an exponential curve dropping away. Now when we actually look at that, you look and you think to yourself, well, in reality, if I was on a sphere, I would actually be able to see a lot further than, you know, what they're stating and what they're arguing about. And also, as I elevated upwards, I would be looking increasingly more downwards. So for talking's sake, you know, they're talking about if you're standing here and you're looking at an object here, it's obscured by some hump somehow that rises up in front of you. Well, that they'll say is the curve of the Earth. Okay, so it must be a fixed reference point, which means as you elevate up, your angle of looking down would increase ever more so, and you would be seeing further and further down the sloping away Earth. Okay, so let me just come back before I go any further. So when you get 2 points here, you know, what the globe is always trying to propose is that something rises up in front of both of you, like a hump in between you. Now, it doesn't take a genius to work out that that geometry is something seriously wrong with that, because if you're on a sphere and you get two people, you shouldn't have something rising up in front of them. Okay? That would mean that each person was standing inside a dimple. Okay, so that when they turn round, they see another hump like this, and it's just a series of humps in front of them. That's not reality. So asking questions, and what I done was I set up a wee display of a curved surface. And again, remember, if they come back into this and they start talking about scale, by mentioning the word scale, it actually gets worse for the globe proponent. Because if you understand the circumference of the supposed globular Earth at 24,000 miles and the size of you in comparison to that, okay, the curve would be ever so slight, very, very slight, right? And nothing would be obscured for hundreds and hundreds of miles, as I'm about to show you. So let me just get this up here. Hopefully that's showing that. Yep. So these were wee sequences, so the sequence is kind of jotted about, but you'll see exactly what I've set up here, just as an example. Now again, what you have to remember is that 1 degree of the sphere is roughly 70 miles. Okay? Now the majority of these observations that people are showing and arguing about are not even half of that distance. Okay? You're talking, you know, less than half a degree. Okay? Already, from the point of the camera to this first, you're about 5 degrees. And again, note that nothing is rising up into the centre of the field of view. The camera's level, it's on a level table looking straight ahead, and the curve drops exponentially away from the point of the observer. It does not rise up into the centre of the field of view.
Are you fucking retard?
So we still have one object left here. So if I was to come straight up, note.
Don't focus on the object. Remember the centre of field of view is here. Nothing here is rising up with us as we rise up.
That the drop continues to go down. And now I would have to tilt to look down. Neil, can you just come here and hold that there for me?
Huh?
Aye, just hold it there. And just let it touch it. So, right, keep going away, Neil, and let it go down. Right, so if you stop there, same again as we elevate up.
And this is the absurdity of a globe proponent talking about a sunrise and how it's going down beyond the curvature of the earth. Now again, in reality, as you elevated up, you would be able to look down at the sun, which nobody ever does. Nobody looks down on the sun, ever.
No, you stay there, Neil.
Oh, yes.
As we elevate up, what's happening? The sun remains in the lower portion, so does the earth, and we would have to tilt downwards in order to look at it. Let's just see that again, bring it back up towards us, Neil. Keep coming, keep coming. Right, now if we stop there, so as we can see from here, and we see the distance, you know, if we were to use that as some sort of scale representation, you can see that from here to here, we're talking, you know, more than 5, maybe I'll be generous and say it's only 5 degrees. And that's being really generous, it's much, much more than that. But we're talking, you know, more than that, probably 10 degrees. Well, as I was saying, 10 degrees.
So you're talking about 700 miles.
Keep bringing it back towards us. In fact, I'm going to use the other prop. So here we're at about, you know, a generous, I'll say 3 degrees. Move the bobby. Nothing is being obscured. Nothing. And the distance from here to here is well over 10 degrees. Further still. I can't see that, I'm going to have to wait until. And again, just to show you.
Again, we've got the centre of frame, and as it goes away, it curves downwards away from us. It doesn't keep going straight out in front of us, down the way. This is the geometry of a sphere dictates that you're at the top of the ball and that it must drop away from you in every direction. Hang on a wee second here. Right. We elevate straight up from that point and it remains fixed and it continues to lower as we elevate, and then we have to tilt. Now we'll be looking down the slope of the earth. Can you remove that first, Car?
Right.
And just slide that one further away. We elevate further up from here. I'm sure it now comes out of view. And now we have to tilt to look down at it. Right. So just to show the curve. So as I say, this is just, you know, some testing to what. Don't know if I need that part right now. You've already heard me saying what I was saying here. I think there's another wee part of it that I snipped on at the end, so let me just find it. And try and utilise that and assert it as some sort of proof to support his, you know, delusional worldview. So we'll have a wee look at some of it and we'll have a wee chat about it. Don't press on it, I just roll it away. Keep going. So as you can see how far it gets before anything would start to be obscured on a curving surface. Again, if you look at the distance from there to there when you see it in the side view, you can see that it's well over 10, 15 degrees, possibly even more than that. Okay, now if you look at that, if you say even 10 degrees, you're talking about 700 miles. So stop, come back, keep coming, stop, stop. So even at that point, as I say, stay there. You can see the distance that would have been travelled. Nothing would be obscured. There you go. Keep going back, no, go the other way. Right, stop. And now we can see, maybe, can't see until I see in the big screen, the distance travelled before anything would be obscured if we were living on a sphere Earth. Okay, and you can see the distance there, how many degrees that would actually be. And again, they want to talk about scale, that would be even more slight. Okay? The exponential drop would be even slighter in comparison if you scaled it properly to us in the scale of the supposed globular Earth concept. Which is a fair bit, yet the majority of the observations we're seeing are over a fraction of that distance. So, as I said, questions have to be asked. Again, if we look at this, they're always misrepresenting, they're always showing you this now. Anybody that levels their camera and looks straight out, where the floor appears to rise into the centre of the field of view, okay, nobody ever has to set their camera up and tilt it downwards in order to see the horizon, or look down at the ever increasing slope going away from you. What you would have to see, which is the geometry of a sphere, a ball, dictates that that must be the case. But you always see the misrepresentation here of them being perpendicular to the centre of gravity, the surface of the Earth, and all that rubbish. Right, and then look, they're looking down. Okay? No straight out would be up here. looking down. Nobody does that. That's not reality. So something's seriously wrong with these people. Again, everybody that knows me knows what I talk about in regards to purely visible phenomena and how we account for purely visible phenomena. And it has to be accounted for because there's so many varying factors to be accounted for. Not only just the eye, we're talking about conditions out there in the natural world. None of these people ever want to account for any of that. And they keep wanting to assert that between you and an object that, you know, anything up to, you know, 10, 15, 20 miles, there's a mound in front of you. I'm just writing down something, hold on. So again, never mind this pish. And looking down like this, that's not reality, right? In reality, you're always at this point. Okay, now you're leveled and you're looking straight out. How can that ever rise up like this? How can anything up until a point, as I just displayed to you, maybe about here, right, would anything ever be obscured? It's got nothing to do with the surface of the earth. It's to do with vision, why the floor appears to rise up and why things appear to get blocked after a certain point. Absolutely nothing to do with the geometry of what you're standing on. Okay? Because the absurdity it is, right, that you're standing at the top and you've got an observer here or whatever and you want to look straight up. This floor would have to mound up like that in front of you and then come back down like this. But that's not what happens in reality. And the same if you turned round, you'd have to have another mount here in front of you. This is what they're trying to assert. It is totally and utterly ridiculous. And as I've just demonstrated to you, and I've said it many times before, think about the scale of the circumference of even a circle, a ball, whatever, 24,000 miles. And you think that over a short distance of 20, even 30 miles, that you're going to have something obscured or blocked by supposed earth curve? Absolutely preposterous. Total and utter rubbish. And again, sun's going down over the curve. So you elevate up, you don't look down at the sun. Nobody ever looks down on the sun. Because if they're going to assert to you, and we've got a side-on view here, or we'll show it from the point of the observer, they're going to assert to you that the sun's down like this. Right? What should happen is you should be elevating up and looking down at that fucker. Nobody looks down at the sun. Is anybody really going to come forward and say they're looking down at the sun? You see it from a side-on view, standing here, and they want to tell you that the sun's down there like this. Elevate up, look down at the sun. That's not reality. So, serious questions to be asked, and these people need to start displaying some honesty, because nothing should be obscured for hundreds of miles. Hundreds. Even with a 8 inches per mile squared, it's missing the point of how it would actually appear. We're asking the questions of how it would appear because we don't live on a sphere. How would it actually appear if you lived on a sphere? The dimensions of what they offer you. As I say, they want to talk about scale. The sheer mass of that would show you that there is absolutely no way for anything to be obscured by a hump in front of you for hundreds and hundreds of miles. And again, you have to ask the question, the geometry of a sphere is fixed, it drops exponentially from your feet in every direction. So why, when you level your viewing apparatus, whether it be your eyes or a camera, looking straight ahead, does the floor appear to rise and come to just beneath the centre point of the field of vision. Again, just highlighting the point that there's two different geometries that have to be factored here. There's the world that we move around in 3 dimensions, and then there's the world that we view it through our optical devices. Because in reality, the flow's no rising up like that. Things are no getting smaller with distance. The sky's no coming down. Things are no converging to a point. That's not reality. That only happens here. Of course it would, Keith Anthony, that's the whole point. Well, Chris says that's exactly it. Because when we're dealing with visible phenomena, we're looking at vision. We're not looking at the three-dimensional world. Okay, that's not quantifying the three-dimensional world, it's only the vision. But again, it's just about the dishonesty of these people that call themselves scientists or investigators, but they're so disingenuous that they just keep a certain nonsensical drivel that's totally contradictory to the asserted model that they propose. Right? Just as I've displayed, and anybody can display that for themselves. So see, I was being generous with the curve on the apparatus that I set up. If I was to increase the scale of that even more, you would see exactly how far it would get before anything would become obscured. And I'm saying you're literally talking hundreds and hundreds of miles. So you can't have things rising up and humping and obscuring you. That's not conducive to the geometry of a sphere. Maybe a golf ball there or something, you know, but it's got dimples everywhere, and everywhere you go you're inside a dimple. Then maybe you could have this humpage in front of you. So they really want to pull their socks up and stop being so dishonest and start addressing these things properly. That's what I'm saying, you know. Any direction would be downhill exactly, Suddy. That's it, YouTube. But they're so up their own arse that they'll not admit they're wrong. And people let them away with it because they keep asserting these things like curve calculators, showing skewed misrepresentations and asserting humps in front of you and all this crap. Just stop and ask yourself the question, how would it actually appear if I lived on a sphere Earth? Not just assuming that it is a sphere Earth and then asserting what you would see, because that's not how it works. And that's it, Tony Dixon. Exactly. Parallel lines only appear to converge due to vision, not in reality. Masonic Dell, aye. Because in a globe you're always at the highest point, that's it. Exactly, have no sphere. That's absolutely absurd, Jacob, isn't it? I'm a Freemasonic plant, whatever, son, whatever. You carry on hating, whatever makes you happy. So anyhow, that's it. I just wanted to share that with you and encourage you to have a think about it the same, so that when you see this stuff coming up, you've got another way of looking at it. Because as I say, what they are showing is not conducive to the geography of a sphere, Earth. That geometry is absolutely wrong. And the way that they try and, you know, represent their visible phenomena and make assertions about it is obviously wrong as well. Because these people have never asked themselves, how would it actually look on a sphere, and then try to recreate or demonstrate it just as I've done. And again, you'll hear laughter or whatever. Again, it's a practical reference. And if they want to assert scale, then fine, I'll increase the scale of it. It's going to get worse for the globe if I increase the scale of what I just showed you. because then it will become ever more apparent that nothing can be blocked for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. Anywho, take it easy. See you soon.